why entrepreneurs?
Entrepreneurs are the heroes of the new era. They are the people who are the visionaries, the pioneers, the people who are willing to throw the path less traveled.
So you mentioned, Jay, entrepreneurs in particular. Fascinating. Why? So we talked about men focus, totally understand that. We covered that. But you've also focused on entrepreneurs. Well, tell me more about that, about why entrepreneurs?
All right. Well, it's actually pretty straightforward because entrepreneurs, what I see, the heroes of the new era. They are the people who are the visionaries, the pioneers, the people who are willing to throw the path less traveled and make decisions that other people, or most other people, are not willing to make. So they're a very special breed, I would say. They're not like everyone else. And there is a huge difference in the way their mind works, in my observation. And so someone who is happy to be led and someone who is willing and has the courage to lead is a very different person. And because of that, they need very different tools and strategies that would work specifically for them. And once again, I observed that with the traditional help and therapists, they tend to focus on what works for the majority. So for that majority, say 9 to 5, or for people happy to follow the lead. And because entrepreneurs are different, when they try to do it, usually it actually just brings them down and it doesn't provide the solution that they're looking for. And because I understand this kind of mindset, well, I'm part of the tribe. So I have an insider view on what's really going on. It was an obvious choice to help those who say, well, invisibly stand by my side.
Right. And entrepreneurs, they, like you said, they're leaders, and, sometimes they're on their own leading, right? And they don't have that support system, and they are pushing uphill every day. It's being an entrepreneur, and I'll call it a true entrepreneur, is very challenging. Having to self-motivate, not necessarily having a support system that helps you day in and day out when you run into those obstacles. So it makes sense. It makes sense that entrepreneurs have similar challenges and above and beyond just your regular average male challenges.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lonely journey. What people often say, entrepreneurship is a lonely journey, and there is a lot more stress and a lot more pressure to make it work than if you're part of, say, a larger company. You're being told what to do. If you screw it up, there will be someone else to help you out. Right. And so that stress and pressure obviously takes its toll as well. Yeah.
And you wrote a book around entrepreneur.
Absolutely, I did.
Unbreakable Entrepreneur.
That's right. So I wanted to tell those guys that there is a way to make your mind unbreakable in the first place. And so you can go forward without worrying that, you may suddenly crash, like suddenly you may get attacked by anxiety or depression, because this is how it's being positioned and presented in our current society and the current propagated worldview, that depression happens for no reason. So does anxiety. It can affect anyone at any time. And so you're basically defenseless against it, because once it happens, nobody's out there to help you, and then you will have to cope with it for the rest of your life. This is basically what they tell you. And so what I wanted those guys to know, that it's not true, because there is a reason why depression or anxiety happen. And B, you can uncover that reason and you can fix it. And so it means that you don't have to deal with it or cope with it for the rest of your life. And you definitely don't need to, and I would encourage you not to attach a label to yourself as someone who suffers from a mental health problem. And I know right now it's being presented almost like an elevating thing. Like, oh, if someone has a mental health problem, it's a power thing, because it basically gives that person the power over others. Because if you say, you have to treat me a certain way, you have to do certain things for me because I have this problem, otherwise you're insensitive. And so for the ego, it's a very attractive proposition. And unless someone can recognize that, the ego will jump on it and it would defend that. So if the ego will start defending that concept within you, you will have a much harder work getting rid of it, simply because it's like, well, the ego loves power of any shape or form. And so it wouldn't easily let go. So the best way is to prevent that from happening. And the best way is to recognize that, treat your mind like a machine and say, if something breaks in that machine, maybe some detail needs replacing. And that's it. Don't attach like, oh, this machine is faulty. No, it's not. You just need to replace whatever is wrong and it will start working again. So if you don't think of yourself, so if you don't think of yourself a certain way, if you think of yourself in a more empowered way, like, I have the power over my mind and I can control what's happening in there, which is true, by the way.
Right.
I can control what's happening in there. Then I'm in control, my deeper core and not my ego. And that actually helps to safeguard yourself from depression a lot.
Yeah. So attaching a label equals an excuse. And whether it's external, right? You need, like you mentioned, you need to treat me differently. Or I feel internally, I'm giving myself a pass. I'm giving myself an excuse to act or be or perform in a certain way because I've labeled myself, right? That's hard. That's really hard, especially as you mentioned, in today's society. It's almost like society saying, no, you should label yourself, so everybody knows, but I want to be careful there. My thought is, you also while you don't want to label yourself, you also don't want to bottle it up and say, well, I don't want to tell anybody how I'm feeling or what I'm going through.
That's the thing. Once you understand what it is you're going through, you don't have a problem with it, because you just go, well, this detail in my mind is not currently working, and I'm working on replacing it. And that's it. Like, it's a temporary thing.
Yeah, I'm going through a maintenance period, right?
It's like my mind is under maintenance.
Right.
It's like, excuse me while I'm carrying out the necessary work. Normal service will be resumed shortly.
Under construction, right? Like a web page.
Exactly.
Right? And I want to go back to something you said before, and I don't remember, I may not get exactly what you said correct, but you said something about, I'm going to paraphrase, it's not, depression is not forever. And that's fine. I love that. But I think the maintenance is forever, right? What do you feel?
Depends what kind of maintenance, because if you are talking about fixing an issue, it only takes a certain amount of time. And it depends on, like with any repairs, it depends on what kind of materials you have at your disposal and what kind of tools you have at your disposal, right? So if you have a good mentor who gives you all the necessary tools really quickly, you can be out of it in a few weeks. But if you're talking about self-improvement work in general, yes, that continues all your life, but that's not maintenance. That's more like an adventure.
Okay, good point. No, that's good distinction between those two. And you mentioned mentorship, super, super important. And I think people, they throw that word out there, mentorship, and I think finding a mentor or mentors, because you can have more than one, or a coach or life, whatever you want to label that individual that's helping you, super important. I can't advocate enough. And you do that, right? Let's talk about that for a minute. You are a coach, you are a mentor, this is your profession. Tell us more about that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I agree with you 100%. It's so important to have the right person mentoring you and coaching you and helping you along the way. Because you know what they say, your mind is a dangerous neighborhood. Don't go there alone.
That's good. I haven't heard that before. That's good.
So it's very true, because most people don't understand how their mind works. And because of that, it's like, imagine trying to repair a machine, but you don't understand how it works. So it's actually very easy to make things worse if you're doing it on your own, or if you're doing it with someone who doesn't really understand what they're doing either. And the reason why I decided to just not be a quiet researcher behind the scenes, but step into the spotlight is because I've realized that loads of people out there, well, perhaps some of them are lazy, perhaps some of them are misguided, because I've seen a lot of coaches who just repeat what other people told them, and those people repeat what other people told them, and so it continues. It's like monkey see, monkey do kind of thing, a photocopy of a photocopy. And so not just that, but certain very important details get lost in translation. Many of the techniques that are being used right now are basically, they're more of a sedative. They don't solve the problem, but they make it go away for a while. And they create, it's almost like opium smoking. Say if you injure yourself somehow, if you have a broken leg, and then instead of going to the doctor, you just smoke a joint, at that point in time, you're not feeling the pain. But it doesn't mean,
right?
Yeah.
But it's not.
Yeah,
really.
Exactly. But it doesn't mean that the problem has gone away. And while you're not feeling it, it's likely to be getting worse. And this is what I've noticed. And I think it's a real problem in our society, because even those guys who are looking for help and they find those coaches, and those coaches are not doing their own research, they're not trying to improve their techniques, they're just using whatever else they were given. And then those techniques that they were given weren't even designed to solve the problem in the first place. They are designed to be just like a painkiller for a bit. Then the student goes to them and it's like, oh, I'm feeling better. That's great. The coach must be great. But then what they don't realize that after a while, they will come a crush, and then they will come to the coach again. And it's like, I don't know what to do, because I've been never prepared to deal with that. And so when that happens, unfortunately, unless there is someone around who really knows what they're doing, it can end up in a tragic scenario. And you hear about so many people who are rich and famous and celebrities taking their lives, because if you keep suppressing that for long enough, like with any pain, it will accumulate, the pressure will build up, and at one point it can become so strong that you may not be able to contain it anymore. And this is why it's so important to actually do your research, do your due diligence, find what that person is actually doing and why they're doing it. Because if they're like, oh, I just want to, with coaches especially, if you ask them, why do you do what you do? And they say, oh, I want to grow my coaching business to, say, 100,000 a month, and that's their motive, then I'm not saying that earning money is bad. It's not. But if that's their main reason to be in the business, you may expect that their actions will be aligned with their priorities, which is giving you something that is almost effortless, works really quickly, it doesn't solve the problem, but you feel satisfied in that moment, so you keep paying. So always find out what people's true motives are.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. And, finding the right coach is hard. Asking those questions about, why do you coach? And the other thing I want to tell folks who are listening, who are either looking for a coach, have a coach, it's okay to try different coaches, right? Sometimes you go to the doctor and you just don't hit it off. You try a different doctor. Sometimes you work with a coach and you don't hit it off. You try a different coach, or like you said, it works for a while and maybe it solves some things, but not other things. Find another coach. It's fine. You're not, it's no hard feelings. It's all about you. That coach, especially if they're all about the money and all that stuff, they're just going to move on to the next coachee and move on. So it doesn't make that much of a difference to them. But you're right. If you, I know I work with Frank Schwartz. I've already mentioned it before, and we both feel that it's not about the money. We actually do a ton of pro bono coaching because for us, it's about taking our lessons, what we've learned and what we've gone through personally, and then helping the next guy. Because we've done it. We see the signs where, no, everything's fine. Everything's great. I'm good. And as you mentioned before, you climb that mountain. I'm successful. I have the cars and the wife and the beautiful kids and the beautiful house and vacations and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But you're not happy. Let's talk about that. Right. Because we've done it. I've done it. I know Frank's done it. And it's a joy to help people see that if they're open to it, which is the other side of it. If you want to be coached, it's a lot of work on you as the person who's asking for the coaching. It's a lot of work and you have to be ready for it. It is hard work, but it's worth it.
That is so true. The way I describe it to guys sometimes is like, it's the same kind of principle that you can't, that you can't just, if you want to have a strong physique, you can't drop your body at the gym and come pick it up when it's ready.
Right.
So with your mind is like that. You have to put some effort in and then build your mental six-pack, because that's how you become strong. That's how you become a mental athlete. This is what we actually need right now.
I am totally going to steal that term, mental six-pack. I love it.
I use it a lot. Yeah. Feel free to use it as well.
I'll credit you. I'll give you full credit, but I love that term, your mental six-pack, right? It's not easy. You don't just wake up one day and say, look, I have a six-pack, right?
Exactly.
In the same way, choosing a coach, choosing, that's a great analogy at the gym, right? I see trainers all the time and there's certain ones that I'm like, I would never hire that person. They wouldn't push me enough. And that gets to another topic I want to talk to you about, which I'm sure you'll have some thoughts on, which is, particularly in the male world, the male society is that comfort zone, right? If I go hire that trainer at the gym, maybe I don't hire the one that I see really, really working people hard, because if I hire a trainer, I could say I hired a trainer, I could have them push me just a little bit, but not really push me out of my comfort zone, because you know what? That's scary. And I don't want to do that. And it's hard work. And, there's the book Comfort Crisis. And, we talked about this sort of in our pre-podcast prep. I am on several of those journeys and it's a reminder to myself. So I just was talking to a friend yesterday. So I don't have a drinking problem. I never had a drinking problem. I'm not a big drinker. But just about a year ago, just before Thanksgiving, we were having a guest and they did have a drinking problem. And so as a family, we said, we're not going to have alcohol. We just don't want to have that environment. That's not right. And it's just, it's one day, right? Oh, Thanksgiving, US holiday. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I know.
And I haven't had a drink since then. Well, I should say I didn't have a drink for about 9 months and then I had one. And so in the last 2 years, I've had 6 drinks, 6. And it was just a personal challenge to me. It was like, I honestly stepped back and thought, in my life, when I was drinking, what's the best thing that's ever happened? Like because of drinking, what's happened? Like what great thing has happened? I couldn't think of a single one, not a single. Yeah, you get relaxed. Yeah, and to your point about, smoking opium, before, you kind of numb some things. Again, I've never had a drinking problem or that stuff, but I thought, well, let me just try not drinking at all and see what happens. And you know what? I didn't miss it at all. So minor sort of, comfort crisis kind of thing. But what are your thoughts on, males and the comfort zone, as I call it?
So one thing I would like to say is that beware of your comfort zone. This is the thing that's going to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm serious. Just run away. Whenever you find that you are getting too cozy, too cushy, run away. This is because if you don't, your soul will start rebelling and making you feel really unhappy, no matter what else you have, no matter what other achievements you have to show. If you stay stuck within your comfort zone, you will unfortunately activate that self-destructive mechanism. The reason why that happens is because if you look around you in the universe, take any living species, anything, you will notice that what it wants to do, it wants to grow and evolve in some shape or form. And so even as, say, generational change, where each generation is evolving towards a better form of themselves, the evolution of species. And so we are not exempt from that rule. We have to play by that rule. And so as a person, if you're not evolving, and you can't evolve if you're stuck in the comfort zone, if you're not evolving, it will come around and bite you right where it hurts. And if you look at your friends, neighbors, peers, whoever else you see doing that, you will see exactly what is happening and how tragic it can be, because that brings people down to their knees. Don't do that. You really owe it to yourself to opt for more and to provide more possibilities for your life. And actually, life, what they say, life unexplored is not a life worth living. So this is one thing. And another thing about the comfort zone is that it goes, for men, it goes against your core masculine principle, because being cozy, cushy, and protected is more on the feminine side. And so for girls, it's not as deadly. But for a man to be straying into the polarity opposite to your own, it's actually weakening you as a man. And with that, guess what your soul does? It starts screaming at you. And this is where depression comes from. So don't do it to yourself. It's a lethal trap. And I know that the ego may say, oh, but what if I try and fall and fail? What if someone disapproves of what I do?
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
they may, right? But it's not worth sacrificing your life for.
Totally agree. Another thing, just within the last 6 months, I joined a global male-only organization. It's called F3, and it stands for Fitness, Fellowship, Faith. I will tell you, it's one of the hardest things I've ever done for a couple reasons. So it's a global organization, and it's fitness, starting with fitness, right? So 5:30 in the morning, a.m., outside every day of the year. Okay, maybe not holidays and stuff, or when it's lightning or tornadoes or any of that kind of stuff. But 340 days a year, outside, any weather, we work out. And I got to tell you, I've been getting up at 6 a.m. since high school. Getting up at 5 a.m., I absolutely detest it. I don't know what it is. I hate it. I don't want to do it. But going to these workouts with these men and getting pushed to work out hard, I've never left one of these workouts feeling, God, I wish I didn't do that. I mean, I hate getting up. I hate going there. I hate it. But once I'm there and when I leave and have been physically, mentally pushed, and the male fellowship, great bunch of guys. It's fantastic. And so similar theme of, finding things that push you out of your comfort zone, push you to learn, push you to grow. It's been one of the best things I've ever done.
Absolutely. And bonding with other men is super important because, you need a pack, like a team of people, your legion, your army that goes together with you to achieve whatever goal that you're mutually sharing. And what is about the third F?
Faith. So, in combination, so, fitness, fellowship, and faith is, we're there to, it's not like super religious or any of that stuff, but we're there understanding that there's, we've got all sorts of religions, by the way. And the one common theme in all religions is we love each other, right? No matter what religion is, I don't think, at least I haven't met one religion out there where they say, no, we're here because we hate those other people, right? That's I mean, I don't think there's a religion. I hope not. And I hope if there is, I never want to meet any of those people. But the main purpose for religion is we love each other. And so, we'll have a circle of trust. We call it a COT after the workout. And we just say, hey, is there anything we need to, pray about or share, and we'll just say a quick little prayer, and that's it. Nothing too crazy. And we have Muslims, we have Jewish people, we have Christians, we have everybody, and it's just super bonding. Like you said, you need that male pack, that male, army. And I know some of these men pretty well, and it's only been 6 months, and I know some of them vaguely well, but I feel like my pack would have my back if something happened with my family or me or whatever it is. It's great.
Okay, that's so important.
Yeah, the brothers are there, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, having this feeling of brotherhood actually makes you stronger as a person.
Absolutely.
So you're stronger as a member of the group than when you are on your own. And this is something that I think many entrepreneurs struggle with, because you don't really have, well, you have masterminds, but it's not quite the same. And it doesn't have this aspect of uniting people based on very deep spiritual principles. And even if some of them do, it's actually just only one part of the equation.
Mm-hmm.
So even that, this is why I asked you what the third F was about, because I was so curious how they understand and how they understand faith and how they put it in action for this group. And from what you described, they only do one thing and they don't do the other thing, which is having spiritual workouts.
Spiritual workouts. Okay. Tell me more.
Because if you don't, that is where the problem starts. Remember, I'm going to explain in a second, because remember what I said about the evolution of the species. And so we need to keep constantly evolving. Otherwise, our soul will remind us very harshly that we must. And so, same as the body has its needs, for rest, for exercise, for nutrition, so does our spiritual part, because we're not just the physical beings having this spiritual thing as an extra on top. We are actually spiritual beings having this physical experience. And so, same as we need to keep our body fit, healthy, and strong, we actually need to become fit, healthy, and strong spiritually. And this is especially important right now in our day of age. This is because the changing times actually require that of us. We have to now step into our spirituality, whether we like it or not. So for some people, it may be like waking up at 5:30 and going to work out in the rain, but they hate it as they're going there and they love every moment of it. But some people may actually love it right from the beginning. It's like, yeah, I love waking up at 5. It's like my best time ever. The 5 a.m. club and things like that. So that spiritual caring, appreciation, and compassion for others, it's important, but it's not the whole thing. And this is why for men, it can be very challenging, because if you go and they promise you some spiritual insights and they only give you that, what will happen after a while with many people going it? And super annoying, because it's not right, but you don't know what's not right. Also because everyone else is telling you that everything is right. So the spiritual workout, we need to do certain practices, say certain meditation practices and certain self-inquiry practices, but also say energy weightlifting, so to speak. So
mental six-pack. This is the spiritual six-pack.
Yeah. So this is a spiritual six-pack. So, and the spiritual weightlifting, because If you don't, then you fall behind that flow of evolution, unfortunately. So if you only focus on the physical part, the spiritual part is like an extra where you're like, oh yeah, we just say compassionate to each other. Your spiritual part will start feeling very dissatisfied with what you're doing. So again, guess what? That can bring about an onset of depression. So we as spiritual beings need to function a certain way, and we were programmed to function a certain way. And the majority of us don't do it. Or we're doing it incompletely and not enough. And it's still better than not doing it at all. But it's a difference between starving and being malnourished. It's still not ideal. So the best idea is to actually give yourself enough nourishment, both on the physical and on the spiritual level. And what I mean by that, we need to understand that as men, there is that physical part, there is that spiritual part, and there is that goal-striving mechanism that is inbuilt and that will never stop. We need to keep constantly satisfying that. And that goal-striving mechanism is something that's helping us developing your power, your spiritual power as a person, and using that power in the physical world. In other words, you need to learn to be the king or the ruler of your unique reality. And you need to create and structure your world in alignment with your will. And so this is what my training does, for example. It includes those elements that allow you to become, well, people say energy healer or a manifestor and things like that. But it's not just a skill in itself. It's that you are supposed to be. And it's not an extra, it's a must. And this is what most people don't realize. So you need to have your physical six-pack, you need to have your spiritual six-pack. And it's not about being nice and fluffy, because sometimes it involves wallowing in spiritual mud, let's say, until you clean, and lifting up heavy spiritual weights and facing your fears and doing some really hard work, but really fulfilling, to the point of you now have your body under control and your mind under control, not like a tyrant kind of thing, but like a ruler kind of thing. You are now the ruler of your domain, and your life unfolds from there.
Well, that's awesome. Wow, we covered a ton of topics today, and wow, we could probably talk for another couple hours. I hope I can get you back as a guest, because I just this topic or topics is super important, resonates with me personally, and I know will resonate with a lot of folks and listeners that I have on the podcast. I want to make
join you again anytime.
Awesome. I really, really would love that. This has been awesome. Anyone, if they want to reach out to you, what's the best way to contact you? How should they contact you, and any of that information?
You can find my books on Amazon, and at the back, you will find a link to my Telegram group, which is Unbreakable Entrepreneur. And you can find me there. You can find me on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, pretty much any social, or JH Devlik, which is my name.
Awesome. And what I'll do is, in the podcast episode notes, I'll put all of these links in there, your bio and all that. I know it sounds cliche, but I can't thank you enough. Great topics. Loved the conversation, and super happy that you agreed to come on the podcast today. And really look forward to working with you again.
It's been an absolute pleasure. And thank you for having me today.
Thank you again.